We finally have another George Springer injury update, and we also have our general manager Ross Atkins speaking out on what our free agency plan might look like this offseason and who we might be looking to trade. So we're going to break that down and much more in this episode of Jay's Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm Nick Gosse, host of Jay's Digest. And before we do get into this video, I just want to thank you guys for all the support you've been showing recently. We are so close to 2,000 subscribers. Just a quick reminder that 86% of you guys who are watching right now are not subscribed. So if you are enjoying the videos, enjoying the daily Jay's content, make sure to hit the subscribe button. It means the world to me and Peter. I'll be doing this one solo today. Peter was unable to make it, but he'll be back for the next one. And thank you guys again for all the support. Let's get right into the first topic of this video, which is a George Springer injury update. Now, obviously, we haven't talked much about George Springer, his injury recently because, free agency rumors have been running wild. We're having lots of speculation for the Jays and just around MLB. We're going to tone it back this video a little bit. Just for this video, we'll be, breaking down some more news, less regarding about the free agency, more regarding, internally for the Blue Jays. So we have a report come out recently about George Springer, his injury. So George Springer on the mend. George Springer is recovering well from a procedure he had to remove a bone spur from his right elbow late last month. Atkins said they'll have a much clearer picture of how normal his offseason will be in 3 to 4 weeks as he continues to recover. But the hope is he'll be ready to go when spring training opens in February. So I'll touch on that point before we get into the second point of that little piece from The Athletic, from a Blue Jays insider. So in 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have a much clearer update from George Springer, and this is great news. Obviously, spring training starts in February. It's not too long away, and George Springer obviously was battling a major injury last year. Halfway through the season, he started, really started feeling pains. He'd run into the wall. He would, he'd cringe after he made like a diving catch. He'd swing the bat. He'd, be in a lot of pain. But in 3 to 4 weeks, we will know for sure. So in about a month from, now, we'll know for sure if George Springer is ready to go and how healed he is, which is really, really good news. And they also say that they are optimistic that he will be ready to go in February, which is also phenomenal news. Now, I'll also touch on the second part of this little report here, which is much more interesting to me. He's extremely optimistic that he will start spring training in a better place than where he was halfway through the year when he started to feel real aggravation from it. So we obviously knew that he was feeling, a lot of pain halfway through the year when he wasn't really healthy. Towards the end of the season, he had a lot of, cringe at bats. Like he'd swing the bat, he'd be in lots of pain. But it's saying here now, ever since halfway through last season, he had some severe pain from it and real aggravation. So it says here, I'll pop it up one more time, that he feels he will start spring training in a better place than where he was halfway through the year. So that is really good news. Obviously, the surgery is looking like it's going to work its wonders, and that we'll get the George Springer that we know and love. And obviously, 80% of George Springer is a really phenomenal player and someone who deserves to be out there. But if we can get George back to 100%, then that will be phenomenal. And it's just good to see and good to get an update on George Springer because, amid all this crazy free agency, we still have George Springer and, our normal other players who are battling a variety of injuries. So it is great to see George Springer. Everyone, let's just pray that he'll be healthy and ready to go. And it seems that the Blue Jays front office is optimistic that he will be healthy for next year and hopefully he can sustain his healthiness throughout the year. So let's get into the next topic now, which is Ross Atkins speaks out on free agency. So this was also from an article posted by The Athletic. Now this one is a bit interesting. Obviously, you guys have heard, we've all heard about the trade talks about Gabby, Danny Jansen, Alejandro Kirk, and who they might be trading. We've covered it on the channel a few times, and no one really knows the answer. But Ross Atkins hints a little bit at what the market's looking like for those players. So this was during the GM meetings. According to General Manager Ross Atkins, there has been slightly more emphasis in discussion and dialogue around trades because we're not having as much dialogue around exchanging terms or potential contract structures with agents around, free agents. So that's the first bit of insight he gave about free agency this year. As like I said in the previous video, they'll be targeting more trades than free agency signings. Of course, they will still be targeting free agency signings, but most of the talks right now are regarding trades. Obviously, their biggest trade chips are one of their 3 catchers because they need to get rid of a catcher. As we've spoken about tons of times, as they've reported itself, trading a catcher is very, very likely. So we'll get into the second, piece here. Atkins said If we are to entertain that, and that is referring to the catchers that they're trading a catcher, if we are to entertain that, we're going to have to think about what that means for a major league team, and we're entirely focused on winning. So having that depth right now, a lot of energy and effort is focused on what that means for all three of them here, being all three of their catchers. But with the amount of interest that teams do have in each of them, we have to at least answer the phone and think about what that means if there are other potential avenues to cover other areas. And a bit earlier in the article, talked about how there's Ross talked about how there's severe interest in all their catchers, and he basically says it there. So he doesn't seem too eager to trade one of the three catchers, at first glance. But obviously, a report surfaced a few days ago, a couple days ago after this report was made, that they're looking to trade one of the catchers if it means improving other avenues, which it does say right here. We have to at least answer the phone and think about what that means if there are other potential avenues to cover other areas. Other areas being starting pitching, and bullpen help, because we obviously need starting pitching. We've harped about it multiple times on the channel. We need starting pitching, we need bullpen help, and we need a lefty bat. And obviously Ross needs to answer the phone if they're getting calls for one of their three catchers, because we have an excess supply of catchers that other teams simply don't have. If you look here, they also say with the amount of interest that teams do have in each of them. So clearly there is tons of interest in these catchers, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the Blue Jays do. But this is kind of the first time Ross Atkins gave, some little insight on what the market's looking like for the Blue Jays catchers, and what, their free agency plan might be, which seems to be focused heavy on trading rather than signing. But hopefully they do throw a few signings in there alongside their trades. So we're going to move into the third topic now. That second topic is a cool one. Hopefully Ross, gets on the phone and makes some changes and makes some trades. We definitely need some more pitching and bullpen help. But let's get into the third topic now, which is a quick coaching staff update. We've obviously talked about the major two topics of the video. And like I said earlier in the video, free agency is running wild. We have rumors left and right. We have, conversations about the Jays making trades, about what free agents they're looking to sign. So we're kind of just stepping back for a second and looking at the big picture of what the Jays have right now if they weren't to sign anyone. Because obviously there's still lots to be done within the clubhouse, healing George Springer's injury. Our coaching staff, John Schneider, obviously got re-signed. So we have a little update here, finalizing the coaching staff. The Blue Jays are still finalizing their 2023 coaching staff, but there should be more clarity coming soon on that. The expectation is that all coaches will return, and Atkins says no decisions have been noteworthy. The Blue Jays may simply be finalizing exact roles, titles, and specific deployment of their people and resources. The big piece here is, of course, the expectation is that all coaches will return. So that is a good sign. I'm happy with the coaching staff. Obviously, John Schneider gets to pick that coaching staff since he was hired to his 3-year deal, a couple weeks ago. And, from the managing front, I'm happy. We've talked about it a few times on the channel. I'm happy with John Schneider, and I like our bench coach, our pitching coach, Pete Walker, our bench coach, Guillermo Martinez, Dave Hudgens, all the guys. They seemed, we did really well under John Schneider last year. So I'd say we let it run him back. Let John Schneider run it back with the current staff. Make a couple changes if you want to, but it doesn't seem like too many major changes are going to be made. And just, run it back and see what we can do with a full season of John Schneider, with hopefully we will be able to fill some of those holes that we had in our roster last year, notably improve the bullpen and get a left-handed bat. And of course, some starting pitching, like we've harped on several times on this channel. So let's get into the quick final topic now. I'll just quickly make a quick note of it that the Blue Jays were close on Suarez. So obviously Robert Suarez was an elite relief pitcher who was on the free agency market, and he got signed recently to a monster contract. Now, obviously, if you're the Blue Jays, you can't be too upset. Monster contract for these guys. Suarez got a 5-year, $46 million contract from the San Diego Padres. And Suarez was a name that the Blue Jays had on their radar for a while. I'll pop up a screenshot here. It says, from Ben Nicholson Smith, once again, Blue Jays reporter. For what it's worth, Blue Jays were described as very serious on Robert Suarez. Since Suarez got 5-year, $46 million deal with San Diego during quiet period, Jays were not permitted to make an offer. But this interest sheds light on their approach, reinforcing that adding a swing and miss arm is a priority. So this is obviously, it's good and bad news. Obviously, it's good news in the sense of they are very serious in acquiring some swing and miss this year. Bad news in the sense that they weren't able to get Robert Suarez, but it doesn't seem like it was really their fault, which is unfortunate because obviously the Padres made an offer during the quiet period, and he got signed to a monster deal. But if the Jays are willing to spend that much on a reliever, I'm excited for where this offseason may head towards, whether it's through the free agency or through trades. But I'm really, really excited. And like Ben said here, sheds light on their approach, reinforcing that adding a swing and miss arm is a priority. And it needs to be. We need more velocity. We need more swing and miss. Just wanted to touch on that there, as Robert Suarez was a guy that we were really looking for, and we were seemingly close on and very serious about. So that'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys so much again for all the support. It has been unreal. Keep it up. We're so close to 2,000 subscribers. And thank you guys so much for watching. Again, the support means everything. And we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Cheers.